Now they had gone far into the lone lands, where there were no people left, no inns, and the roads grew steadily worse. Not far ahead were dreary hills, rising higher and higher, dark with trees. On some of them were old castles with an evil look, as if they had been built by wicked people. This landmark adventure for the One Ring will find players traveling to the Trollshaws, to the ruined fortress of one of the 9 kings of men who are gifted rings of power by Sauron. There, the heroes will confront a stone giant under the power of cursed treasure. It is finally time for a landmark adventure for the Bardings, and this one took quite a while to figure out. I wanted to focus on something I haven't really done yet. Looking at the cultural virtues for Bardings, 2 things caught my attention: Dragon Slayer and High Destiny. These virtues are for players looking for a big confrontation with an epic adversary, like Bard the Bowman. My adventures so far haven't had a big final boss type enemy yet, so Barding seemed like the perfect opportunity to do that. Since Barding seems so tied to The Hobbit, more so than Lord of the Rings, I really wanted to use more elements from that book, so a stone giant seemed like a great candidate for an epic final battle. Researching stone giants for this changed the adventure a lot. Giants are a bit of an oddity in Tolkien's works, as they are basically just mentioned in The Hobbit and pretty much nowhere else. I've also always assumed that giants were mostly evil creatures, however, that doesn't seem to be the case. Bilbo is certainly familiar with stories of giants as truly monstrous creatures, and when Thorin and company see stone giants in the Misty Mountains, they do their best to avoid the creatures. However, no giants are mentioned fighting for Sauron or Morgoth before him. Gandalf also mentions how he will need to find a more or less decent giant to block up the goblin tunnels. I like the idea that giants are almost the chaotic side of the same coin that has Ents as their opposite. That giants are these incredible forces of nature that don't really care about wars that happen around them, and while Ents nurture the land and grow forests, giants take great joy in destruction, and not in the evil way that goblins do, but in more of a toddler way. It took a lot of different versions of this adventure to come to a point I was happy with. I looked at a couple of locations in which to set it, but none of them felt right. One was Ostinethil, which I didn't know anything about beforehand. A quick bit of research on that location was enough to know that that city deserves its own adventure, so I may come back to that. Bringing the adventure back to the Hobbit, a ruined castle in the Trollshaws just seemed to work. The idea to have the castle as being one that belonged to one of the ring wraiths came about later in the process, but I really enjoyed that idea. I had never thought about the process of turning into a wraith. There are some terrific gothic horror type stories there, with a castle whose king falls further and further into evil. The people around him slowly growing old, while the king lives on for extended years. People feel like the king is somehow always watching them, and they gradually start to notice that he seems transparent at times. There's some good stuff there, which this adventure doesn't really get into, but it's fun to think about. As far as this adventure does go, players are likely to hear of some terrible creature that has been stalking the land, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. Following the trail will lead players to the ruined castle and the stone giant that is now living in it. There's a bit more going on here though. Upon finding the castle, the giant destroyed a barrow and took 3 crowns from inside. The cursed treasure is pushing the giant to greater deeds of destruction. The theft of the crowns has also caused 3 barrow-wights to rise from their grave. This adventure should give players some good options to have an epic fight, or if the players are more of a mind to try stealth or persuasion, they might be able to steal the crowns from the giant and convince him to return to the mountains. There are also some marsh dwellers, treasure, strange carvings, dungeons, and the potential for the castle to be fully destroyed during a battle with the giant, so quite a lot going on. If any of that sounds like it will work for you or your players, you can download this PDF from the link in the description. That's pretty much all for now, but there are a lot more videos coming. My next video will be on Adventures in Beowulf, Age of Heroes. After that, I will be working on a video looking at the differences between the One Ring and its 5e variant, the Lord of the Rings role-playing. There will also be more adventures for the One Ring at some point, and maybe videos on the starter set and the Rivendell supplement, as well as possibly a review of Tales of the Lone Lands and Moria when that comes out. There are also a few other systems I'm looking at that I might do stuff with at some point. Also, if this is the first one of my videos that you have seen, I've made a bunch more of these adventures, one focusing on each of the heroic cultures from the core rules. They're also being translated into Russian, which is pretty cool. Lastly, whether you are new to this channel or have been following from the start, thank you. When I started making these videos, I thought maybe in some far-off distant day I'd get to 100 subscribers, and yet it seems as though quite soon this channel will be reaching 1,000 subscribers, which is crazy. This community has been absolutely wonderful. So many of the comments and messages I've received have been so kind and thoughtful, and they have brought me a lot of joy. So thank you all, and have a great day.